This is a Sattva Restore class for a healthy spine and back. So if you're having low back issues or spinal issues, this can be a good thing to help restore your spine. Or if you've been sitting all day or traveling a lot, this could be useful practice for you as well. So Haley and Chelsea are the students today, and they're here in a supported Viparita Karani posture. And we want the spine to be very flat against, it's not going to be flat, but just completely unsupported on the floor so that gravity can load the body and relax any tension in the erector spinae muscles. So they're not supported at all underneath their backs, just underneath their neck. And this can help to lengthen through the back of the neck if there's any excess cervical spine curve or the head is dropping back from weak muscles from sitting over the desk. So a little pillow or blanket underneath the head, the occipital ridge of the head. And then the knees should be at a comfortable height so that they're not extending and loading the pelvis, so the pelvis is nice and neutral. And then the ankles should be supported as well. So we placed a bolster underneath their ankles so that there's no space there. And even something behind the feet. Haley's feet are touching the chair. Chelsea's aren't, so even a pillow back here could be nice to ground her a little bit more. So let's get into this position. An eye pillow over the eyes is nice and settling. This also reduces stress, which helps with all chronic illnesses and our digestive system. In restorative postures, we wait for 5 to 10 minutes in the posture. And we dive beneath those unconscious holdings of habitual patterns and tensions that we carry around with us throughout the day. Even just thinking of shifting our weight to one hip makes those muscles engage. So if we're thinking about stress or to-dos or worries, that causes our body to react. So this is an undoing and a receiving of the breath and the moment for this relaxation and reposturing of the body by undoing all of our habitual patterns. So you want to feel completely supported and held in all of these postures so we can dive beneath that unconscious holding. We use our imagination to allow us to drop into that relaxation. We use our attention, bringing our attention to our feet, and allow any tension from the feet to relax into the ankles, the shins and calves. Relax the knees and the thighs, the pelvis and the hips. Just feel those sitting bones completely relax. The mid-back and the chest. The upper back and spine, relax. Relax the shoulders. The upper arms. Relax the elbows, the forearms, all the way down to the tips of the fingers. Every exhale, notice the body relaxing and surrendering into the shape and the support of the chair and the earth and the props below you. And just allow your breath to be in its natural flow. This position allows gravity to load the vertebrae so that they get more space and that synovial fluid can drop in between the discs. So even just doing this posture for 15 minutes a day can allow that length of the spine and the rigidity of the erector muscles that hold us up all day or over things to relax that tension. And keeping the belly soft allows the blood flow to get into the deep organs of the digestive system. Keeping the arms open can open the lungs for greater breath, working the cardiovascular system and circulatory system. This is also a little bit of an inversion, so if you've been on your feet a lot, it will help with excess swelling in the legs. That breath go deep into the belly and even the pelvis to allow a hollowing out of the pelvis. Feeling that soft tissue become softer. The ribs just starting to relax into the floor, those adrenal glands softening down, spreading out upon the earth. Start to feel the chest cavity a little hollow. Throat, and even the head. We're going to start to breathe a little bit more deeply. So if we started to drift off into a little slumber, we'll wake up, taking a couple deep breaths in, re-energizing. Move around the fingers, open and close the hands. And then let's take the eye pillows off of the eyes and set them down next to us towards the center here. And we're going to slowly start to walk the feet to the edge of the chair. So feel your spine, because we're coming into a flexion of the spine, which is the hardest thing to do when we're suffering from back pain. So bring one and then the other. I'm going to move these chairs just a little more forward, making sure they don't slide. For my friends here. Good. So this may be enough for you. If you want to go further into a little bit of dynamic movement, you can take your palms down to the floor. Good. So you can just stay here in the flexion of the spine. I'll have Chelsea demonstrate the dynamic movement. So she's going to keep her feet hips width apart and start to press into the chair and just slowly roll up, getting a curve through the low back, not pointing the toes, keeping them just like you're pushing into a gas pedal. And don't come up too high to start with. So just come up a little bit and then roll back down. So maybe even try to just lift the tailbone and keep the buttocks on the floor. So it's more of a micro movement, rounding the low spine. And you don't want to use your hamstrings too much or you could get a cramp in your back of your legs. So just rolling up, keeping the buttocks on the floor, just lifting the tailbone. And then gradually you might start to get a little more extension as you press into the chair. You might even roll up to the mid-back. If that's going well, you might even feel a little bit of pressure into the shoulder blades. If you don't have any cervical spine issues going on, you can take it up to there. Feeling a little bit more of an energizing posture. Good. Beautiful. And then she's going to lower her hips all the way down to the floor. And then we'll start to roll over onto one side, whatever side feels more comfortable, into a fetal position. Good. Turn the chest toward the floor, and we'll come up to tabletop position for some cat-cows. This is one of the best things we can do for our spine. I'll take a blanket underneath Chelsea's knees, in case her knees are sensitive today. So getting the wrists directly underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips, and then just feel the body loaded here for a second with gravity. Start to notice if the pelvis comes forward, keep that straight over the knees, or if you start to bend your elbows at all. We just want to articulate through the spine. And then begin to curl the low back, and don't move the chest. And then tailbone up and sitting bones apart. So just try to get some flexion and extension through the pelvis. Think of a little pelvic tilt here first. Rounding. Good. Keeping the crown of the head forward as if you're pressing into a wall. Rounding. And then releasing. So just start to check out that movement for you. Notice what's occurring in the hamstrings. Hopefully they're getting a little strong. And the quadriceps helping to steady you from moving forward through space. And then start to feel it move all the way up to the mid-back, to these points of the lower ribs. Try not to move the upper body. It's hard once you get up there because the arms want to push. And then do a few rounds like that, just rolling up to the mid-back. And then all the way up into the cervical spine. Exhale, let the head hang, and inhale as we spread out through the front of the body. And we don't just want to work the spine front and back, we also want to work it side to side. So let's come back to neutral and just crescent your body over to the left so the hips shift to the left and then look back towards the hip. So you're crescenting through the left side and rounding through the right. And then start to slide your hips to the right and look back over your right shoulder. You might be pressing into your left palm a little more to balance that way. And start to move side to side. So you feel those obliques working. Good. You can feel the curve of the spine now on the sides. Good. Beautiful. And then come back to center. So we're going to come into Virasana pose, and Haley might be able to come all the way back into Supta Virasana. Her knees are going to come together. A lot of times tight quadriceps contribute to the spinal health and balance. Good, so hips between the heels and then laying back over the bolster. Would you like a block under it? Okay. So she can come back pretty far, and you'll know that if this is a safe movement for you because your knees will lift or they'll be talking to you. And then relaxing the ribs into the bolster. So we're stretching out the front of the thigh. We can also elevate the bolster on a block, or we can take this variation on the chair, which Chelsea will do. So keep your hips on a block. Gonna have her sit on a block with her feet on the side. And then she'll lean back over the chair. Good, and I'll take another little chair sliding. Helps to have a chair against the wall. There we go. You can drop back over this. And then let the arms roll open. Good. So this is another supported variation of the Supta Virasana. It's more like a camel pose, breathing all the way up into the collarbones. A good breathing practice to take as we're opening the front of the body. In this position is the Viloma Krama that we've done in some of our other DVDs. Breathing in halfway and then all the way. And then a long, steady stream out. So you can take an inhale and then an extra little sip at the top and a long exhale out. Eventually you'll start to sip in the breath in 3 segments. 1/3 of the way, 2/3 of the way, and then 3/3 of the way on the inhale. Long exhale out. I'll guide you through that one time. So we'll inhale, just 1/3, pause. Inhale 2/3, saving a little bit of breath for the top. And then inhale all the way to the top. Exhale all the way out like a steady stream, following your rhythm of the breath, just accentuating it with this pattern. This increases energy. In this pose, we don't want to stay in as long as some of the other postures. So they're going to use their arms, start to turn the palms into the floor and walk back up using the shins pressing down, grounding through the knees and rising back up. And start to crawl the hands forward, back into the tabletop position. And then just tuck the toes and extend one knee back to open the back of the knee. Let the blood flow get back there. And then the other, feel this extension through the spine. And then coming back to that tabletop position, we'll ground into the wrists as long as you don't have any problem bearing weight on the wrists. Start to extend the right leg back and keep the toes on the floor. Notice how this feels on your low back. Breathe and engage the inner thighs. And then maybe lift it so that your heel is about in line with your hip. Keep the right hip from coming up. Engage those inner thighs in. You can stay here, you can have some fun with it and stretch the left hand forward. If you know the Ujjayi pranayama from your yoga practice, that upward rising victorious breath, that helps with stability here. Also pressing into a wall. You don't have to keep the hand lifted. You can always lower it back down. Good. And then we'll all lower it down and lower the right knee down. Good. Let's round through the spine. Just take a moment to feel that flexion. And then sternum forward, tailbone up. And then we'll extend the left leg back, tucking the toes, opening up through the back of the knee. And allowing the right hip to stay steady. Just notice how this side feels compared to the other side. And then maybe start to lift it so you're engaging at the hamstring. Good. Try not to lock out the elbows, stay strong. You can stay here, have a little fun by reaching the right hand forward. Engage those outer hips. Reach the crown of the head forward as if it was pressing into a wall and the left foot back. Good, and then slowly lower that down. Great work. Good, so we're gonna slide our hips to one side and start to bring the feet forward, laying down onto our backs. You can keep the knees both lifted to start with. Just take a couple breaths here, allowing any tension from the low back to release. Chelsea, I'm going to have her demonstrate the more passive version of this posture. So, actually have you scoot here. And you're going to extend one leg onto the chair and bend the other knee. So laying down onto your back. And keep one knee bent, and then the other leg will rest. There we go. Nice. Good. So she's getting a nice release through her hip and low back. And the right knee is bent. And she's just allowing gravity to use this asymmetrical posture to balance out any imbalances in the spine or tension in the low back. And then Haley, we're going to use a strap. So start to lift up that left leg, extending it up toward the ceiling. We'll wrap the strap around the ball of the foot. Now, she's very flexible, so she went over 90, so we're going to keep her at 90 here. Take the strap around the ball of the foot and then hold the strap. So she gets the strap to press into, like you're pressing into a gas pedal with that foot. Good. And keeping that natural curve of the low back, so maintaining the lumbar curve. I'm just going to start to walk her hands up the strap. And just hold one in each. Get straight arms, but let the shoulders be on the floor. Good. And then we're not going to bring it beyond 90, so we're just going to keep 90 and think of this femur bone going straight down to the earth. Now, since she does have more mobility, she can also extend that right leg, keeping that nice and strong as well. Sometimes a sandbag over this thigh could be useful. So there's one piece of you grounding down and another piece of you pushing up. Slowly bend this right knee back up if you're doing the variation with the strap. Bend the left knee and come back and just notice the difference between the two sides. I'll have Chelsea bend her left knee and then start to extend the right leg up for the supported variation. And then Haley will take the right leg up. This side might not be the same as the last side, so maybe you got extension through the support leg on the other side, but you don't on this side. Use the strap, walk the hands up. So you want to have the straight arms, but the shoulders relaxing into the floor. And then the belt right into the ball of the foot. Good, not going beyond. So thinking of that femur bone going straight down to maintain the lumbar curve. And she can stay here if she wants to. Let's give you a little more space. Or start to extend the leg out. You can always place a sandbag if you have the luxury of having all those props in your home space. And then breathing deep all the way into the pelvis and low back. So where you think your breath is going, you can manipulate that prana or shape change in the body. Where you direct your attention, you can create space and mobility and relaxation. So as you close your eyes, you can visualize nostrils wherever you want to in your body. It sounds silly, but we can start to feel that expansion, shape change in our body, or just more space or relaxation. Where you bring your attention is where your energy flows. So if you're thinking of breathing all the way down to the low back and pelvis, that will soon start to release the tension there if you give yourself some time. Slowly start to bend that left foot back in, coming out the way we came into the posture, then bend the right leg down. Nice. Notice how that feels. Cool. And we'll have them roll on to their left side, or whatever side feels more comfortable to you. That's just our nice little synchronized movement. And we'll come into our final posture, which is Supta Baddha Konasana. So we'll show two variations with this. Chelsea is going to show a variation of taking the bolster over a block and then placing white bolsters. These are the smaller kind of pranayama bolsters underneath the knees. And this is just good if you've had a long day. It helps to relax the spine. It's a little bit more of a back bend. And if you're having a lot of low back pain, then Haley's going to demonstrate just all the way onto the back. And we'll take large bolsters. I got to step out of frame for a second to get a bolster. So she'll be widening her knees, but keeping the feet apart. Good for this reclining frog pose. Good. And she looks pretty good, but I'm going to take a blanket just underneath the AO, the ridge of the cranium bone there, the occipital ridge. And for Chelsea, I'm going to give a little more support for the neck. How are you ladies feeling? Okay, good. This helps to relax the psoas. If you have SI joint issues, it's better to keep the feet apart rather than together. Stay here for as long as you like.